All right. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of America's Hometown Horror, everybody. My name is Mike, and I am flying solo right now as I record this little introduction to the latest interview that we conducted here for the show. And anytime we have the opportunity to talk to somebody cool on the show, and that just gets dropped in our lap, if you will, we are always going to pounce on that opportunity. Now, Matt was kind enough to bring to my attention a couple weeks back that the makers of the In Search of Darkness horror documentary series, which are fantastic, and if you have not seen them, I would highly recommend you check them out. They have a new one coming out about the 90s. They have a new one coming out, about horror video games. These are very in-depth, detail-oriented, long-form looks at 80s horror, and they are worth every second of your time. Matt brought to my attention that the creators of these documentaries are actually making one specifically dedicated to The Thing, which, of course, is one of my favorite movies of all time. And they made a post in their social media platforms that they were looking to speak to podcasters about this project, to kind of talk a little bit about what we should expect from the film and how fans of The Thing themselves are going to be directly involved in this project. So I was lucky enough to be joined by Robin Block, who is the executive producer on this film, along with the In Search of Darkness films, and we talked for about a half an hour about the process of making The Thing Expanded, why he decided he wanted to do it, what the creative process has been like for him, amongst many other things, including our super fandom of, in my opinion, John Carpenter's best movie. So I will let the interview do the rest of the speaking for itself. Here is the interview between myself and Robin Block. Talk to you soon. Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by our friends at Fangoria Magazine. That's right, the first name in Fright since 1979 is now an affiliate of America's Hometown Horror. And because of that, we can now offer you an exclusive 20% discount on any first-time magazine subscription or merchandise purchase by heading over to shop.fangoria.com and using the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout. That's shop.fangoria.com/HometownHorrorPod, or just use the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout for that exclusive discount on anything from Fangoria. Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is also brought to you by our friends at Horror Facts Magazine. Never heard of Horror Facts Magazine? Well, if you're a horror fan, they're a name that you absolutely should know. You can find them over at horrorfacts.com, and they're a great resource for all things horror, including news, reviews, editorials, and lots of other horror podcasts, not only limited to, but including America's Hometown Horror. So head on over to horrorfacts.com and check them out. Now, let's get on with the show. Alrighty, hello, good evening, and welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks so much for checking back in with us. We certainly appreciate it. My name is Mike, and I'll be leading you along the 9 circles of hell, however many circles there are in this movie, along with the rest of the podcast. If you're interested, here's where you can find us online. The first place is our website, which is ahpod.com. It's ahhpod.com. Go there for our blog, more info about the show, or even listen to our show directly at ahpod.com. You can also find us on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Just search for America's Hometown Horror. You'll find us. You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And most importantly, you can leave us a voicemail at 508-927-1267. That's 508-927-1267. And of course, the most important thing you can do for our show is like the show wherever on social media or whatever podcast platform, subscribe and leave us a review, hopefully a 5-star review. If you like the show, helps us get bigger and out to more people. And last, but certainly not least, thanks as always to our buddy Sean O'Laughlin from Skywheel Media, who's now handling all of our audio and music production. He's been doing a great job. And if you, listener, have a podcast that you're looking to improve the audio quality of, get in contact with us. We'll put you in contact with Sean at Skywheel Media. We'll hook you right up.
What's up, Shano?
Shano, the man. Did have a little bit of a call recently with Shano, talked about some stuff related to the show, and he is just an awesome producer, and we really appreciate everything that he does for us. Gives us some awesome insight and feedback and, makes the show sound great. which is phenomenal.
Especially if you can make us sound good, that's pretty impressive.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. All right. So you've heard a couple of my co-hosts in studio with me here. I have Andrew and Kat. Hello.
Hello, hello.
And joining remotely this evening is the one, the only, Matt Audette. Hello, Matthew.
Hi, guys.
What's happening?
Snow day.
Yeah, what a weak-ass snow day, by the way. Good weather talk to kick off the show.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah.
I love the weather.
Yeah.
That's great news. Let's keep talking about the weather.
Kat does like talking about the weather quite a bit, but another forecasted to be huge, rather unimpressive storm, which I'm not complaining about because, less snow blowing and shoveling is a good thing for me. But if I had kids that were supposed to be going to school today and they did not, I'd be perturbed.
But Matt, how much did you get?
Probably like 4 or 5 inches.
Oh, so not much more.
Yeah, you actually probably got a little bit more than we did over here in Plymouth. I think we only got like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's not even a snowstorm.
All just wet shit.
Yeah, it's just
anyway.
like frozen ice now. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, what's going on? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Yeah, good.
Excellent. Well, we have a hell of a movie to talk about here tonight. And
literally.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. But I feel like we have a lot to talk about related to that movie. And I did mention earlier that we did have a call with Shano and talk about a bunch of things related to the show. So we're going to try a couple different things in the future related to format. So why don't we kick off with the news here? We'll then delve right into the house that Jack built, the house that Jack built, which is tonight's film. And then we'll close everything out with watch list stuff, if time shall permit. So, you guys ready for some news?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
News it up.
Let's do it. All right. So, first and foremost, if you are interested in the latest 2024 horror releases at this point, you can go to the theaters and see Lisa Frankenstein, which is getting some pretty good reviews, said to be invoking a bunch of 80s horror nostalgia vibes. This is coming from Diablo Cody, who is the writer of Jennifer's Body, which is definitely a cult classic, and a woman named Zelda Williams in her feature film debut. I don't think this is one that I'll be catching in theaters personally, but I'll certainly check one out whenever it comes to streaming. Likewise, folks.
Yeah,
I agree.
For me.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about that the other day.
I was just saying it was out.
Yeah, it's out, and it's. I feel like it's getting some good positive word of mouth. I haven't seen any box office numbers or anything like that, so I don't know how it's doing. I
don't think it's doing well at the box office.
Yeah, it might not be, but I don't know. It is a slow time of year, so maybe people are going to see it. Hey, and it's a good thing for horror. Anytime people are going to the movies to see horror-related stuff, so I am not against it in any way, shape, or form. Guys, obviously, so I don't know when this episode will drop, but this past Sunday, we had the Superb Owl, the Super Bowl, and there were a lot of trailers that dropped either during the game, right before, or right after, or you get some sort of a teaser during the game, and then you had to go online to watch the full thing. Many of these trailers, relate to the things that we like to talk about here on our show. I don't know if Andrew, you or Kat have seen this trailer. I know Matt has. Anyone catch the trailer for Late Night with the Devil? Because I did.
No,
I didn't watch that yet. No.
Matthew?
Yeah, I watched it. It's awesome.
It looks so cool.
Yeah.
This is just one of those movies that continues to climb up my my hype list here for this year. I can't wait till it comes to Shudder. And the trailer's very brief. Doesn't show a whole lot. Kind of gives it, so this is basically the premise for this movie is it's set in the 70s, I think, on Halloween night, and it's like a late night variety show, in the vein of like Johnny Carson, something like that. And basically they're doing like a Halloween special with someone that's supposed to be, possessed. And like the trailer starts off with like narration almost akin to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Matt, did you pick up on those vibes at all?
A little bit, like with the voiceover and everything.
Yeah, voiceover narration. It's pretty quick. It doesn't show a whole hell of a lot, but it definitely looks like it's going to be an awesome movie, and I can't wait for this one personally.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be pretty like over the top. It looks like so.
Yeah,
that's good.
This is one also that Stephen King apparently really liked. I guess he tweeted out some praise of this movie. So who knows? Maybe someday we can get advanced screeners of these movies like Stephen King does. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be tits.
But wouldn't bank it anytime soon. Next trailer we got was for A Quiet Place Day One. Did anyone see this one yet?
I
did.
didn't watch the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw
Matt?
that one on the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of all set with A Quiet Place.
I'm actually more interested knowing that it takes place at the very beginning than it was just some other sequel.
Yeah.
Like, that at least makes it interesting, and the cast looks pretty damn good.
Yeah. This one has Lupita Nyong'o from Us
Mm-hmm.
and many other things, and also starring Joseph Quinn, who was Eddie in Stranger Things 4.
Oh.
They're the two main characters. I did see a couple of other people in there that I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but there's definitely some good actors in there. And looks like getting some sweet monster invasion, alien invasion action. So, I mean, I'll probably check this one out. This seems like, again, I mean, like the first two Quiet Place movies are good. They're not. I mean, I don't hold them in as high of esteem as many others do. But yeah, this one looks interesting.
Yeah, I agree. This one looks. I don't really like the other two. I think it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, you hear the guy from The Office made a PG-13 horror movie with no dialogue in it. It's like,
Right.
That'll be fucking sick. But this one looks. This one looked like it had some pretty good. It kind of reminded me of like War of the Worlds with
Yeah.
the Tom Cruise one.
Yep. That Tom Cruise War of the Worlds is a severely underrated movie. That movie's
It is.
actually pretty goddamn scary.
Yeah, it's
That movie-
intense.
I like that movie. Fun fact: my dad used to live in the town that it was filmed in. Parts of it in Naugatuck, Connecticut.
Oh, I feel like you've
And
told
I've
me
been
that
there before, and have been there. I'm like, oh, I can see this. This looks like a area where it might have gotten like hit by aliens. So fits very fitting.
All right, so that's A Quiet Place Day One. Not sure when it's coming out, but at some point this year. Kat, the news item that you'll probably be the most excited to talk about tonight, even though I would say it's not quite horror, but we
Two
all know,
things I was
we all
excited.
know. Well, maybe two. I have one, and I'm sure you'll probably let me know what the other one is. We all know that nothing scares you more than real life stuff, especially scary real life weather. And we did get a trailer
Oh yeah.
during the Super Bowl for Twisters,
Yes.
the sequel to the iconic 90s film Twister, starring Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton. And it came out in 1996. So that is what? So 10, 20, like almost 30 years later, we're getting a sequel to this movie.
I don't think we need it, but I'm gonna see it.
I'm
anyway.
surprised you said that.
I don't think we
Surprised.
need it. I think it's a classic that shouldn't be touched. Like, but that's fine.
It's a great
It's got
movie.
that weird dude that looks like a little chipmunk in it.
Which guy? Which
The
character?
guy, the guy
which
from
character?
Maverick, Top Gun. That guy.
Probably. It just, I don't know. That's the main guy, I guess, but he just looks strange.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
I agree with you on that. I wasn't like,
Looks like a
super excited after seeing the trailer. I was just kind of like, oh, all right, well, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not like super excited about it.
I mean, I do love Twister. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's one of those movies that definitely anytime it's on TV, it'll kind of hijack my next hour and a half, 2 hours to watch it. Awesome cast, with Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Carrie Ewells, Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that movie. Rest in peace. Bunch of other people too. So that's a fun movie, and God, people just love doing some legacy sequels.
One of the
right
guys
now.
in the original Twisters actually in the movie we're talking about tonight.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, Jeremy Davies.
Yes.
Yes, the
As a
guy
kid,
from
yeah.
Lost, Cat. That you,
He's a very small.
Oh,
role
Daniel
in-
Faraday.
Daniel
Oh,
Faraday.
yes. I know who he is.
Yep.
Yeah,
he's in it for
Twister.
like
Yeah. Well, he's in this
Lincoln-
movie. He owns
yeah.
the ammunition store, basically.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Lincoln,
He was
Lincoln, you'll miss
The
it.
pansy
Yeah.
was
Good
trying
catch.
to tie under the seat
Yeah.
Twister.
Yep, that's him. So
Just
yeah,
believe me.
so Twisters coming out also later on this year. So check out those trailers if you haven't seen them yet. Some pretty interesting stuff, I would say. Especially, obviously, the Late Night with the Devil one is the one that is of particular interest to me. But all worth checking out.
Did that air during the Super Bowl?
No, it just happened to come out
okay.
like around this time. So I'm just kind of
Yeah.
looping everything in together like an asshole. But anyway, next topic.
Wait. There's one more trailer.
Oh, sorry. You did say you had one more.
Sorry.
What's your
it's
one more?
It's the Walking Dead one that they previewed
Okay.
with Michonne and Rick. I forget the name of it already. It's
Holy
like
shit.
It's
the
called
last of
The
Walker.
Walking Dead's The Ones Who Live.
Yes.
The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live.
Because it's gonna answer what they say in the trailer. It's gonna answer your one question, which is where did Rick go?
Yeah.
And this is gonna answer that. They claim. This is going to tell you where he went.
Did you
Because that was-
mindlessly watch The Walking Dead for 10 plus
Yes.
seasons?
And
Do you
then-
still care?
Once
Would you
once
like
he
to know?
died, we kind of stopped watching it, to be fair. And now I'm like, this is now what I've been waiting for the past however many years that I've taken a break from The Walking Dead. This is the only answer that I wanted.
Well, they did the usual thing The Walking Dead does is they pretended to kill him, and then 10 minutes later they were like, oh nope, just kidding, he's still alive,
But then they never answer where
and
he
getting
went.
put into some helicopter because there's functional helicopters in the apocalypse. And he gets swooped away somewhere, and you don't know where it goes. And then they do another 7 seasons with characters you don't give a flying fuck about.
But then
So,
have their own sub seasons.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
It's insane. It's
Daryl
insane.
Daryl's still a cool character, but I'm all Walking Deaded out personally. I don't know. Maybe I'll check this show out. with
I'm
you.
excited. I want to watch it.
I'll
I've
give it-
never seen one episode.
I'll give it a
so
chance.
It's
I
good.
don't care.
It's fine though.
Matt, were you ever a Walking Dead guy at all?
No, not really. I watched the first few seasons and then I thought it got really corny and I
Yeah.
stopped. Season 3, I stopped when they go to the jail.
Okay. See, yeah. So the first 2 seasons I think are great, and then once you kind of get past that, I actually like the season 3 in the prison with the governor. That was pretty good, but beyond that, it kind of it just didn't work as well for me.
I don't think that guy who plays Rick was a very good actor. I didn't find him very believable.
Andrew Lincoln?
Andrew
Yeah.
Lincoln, that is his name.
I guess
I know.
so. I kind of thought he was a
Talking
Hey, buddy.
about-
That's a stage name, by the way. Did you know that guy's name is actually Andrew Clutterbuck?
Stop
That's-
it.
Well, I
swear-
can see why he changed his name.
Oh my god, I would never change my name.
I swear to God.
Clutterbuck?
Yeah. That's like
No one would ever forget you.
No, you would never be
That guy
forgotten.
Clutterfuck. What?
Yeah.
yeah.
Andrew
Butterfuck.
Clutterbuck.
Clutterbuck.
Clutterbuck?
Clutterbuck.
Oh my god.
My God.
Buttfuck.
Cutter
So-
butt.
That was my my last contribution.
Yes,
to this
yes, for
role
sure.
and trailers.
Yeah, that's almost like if like Benedict Cumberbatch had changed his name. Like that's a name you're like, wow, dude, that is a bold
Exactly.
move, Cotton, to go with that one.
Yeah,
Just-
like Ben Cumberland.
yeah, you know what? I'm Benedict Cumberbatch. Deal
That name
with it.
rules though.
It is like a very distinct
Makes me
name,
hungry.
and he has a very distinct voice as well. Makes you hungry.
Yeah, eggs Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh my
I can
God.
see that. I'm not an egg guy, but I know that you are. So,
I'm an egg guy.
all right, next topic. Here's a little something that piqued my interest that I actually had no idea existed. Can I interest you in a movie with Ewan McGregor, Anne Hathaway, about dinosaurs, directed by the guy who directed It Follows, David Robert Mitchell?
Yes.
Because all of those things combined sound awesome.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. Apparently,
Is
it's
interesting.
an untitled movie at this point, but Ewan McGregor just joined it, and Anne Hathaway was already signed on, but no plot details, no title, but directed by the guy from It Follows, and it is about dinosaurs, apparently. Glad to see that Hollywood is finally acknowledging that other people are allowed to make dinosaur movies besides Jurassic Park and Universal.
You know you are allowed to make dinosaur movies, correct?
Now you might have dinosaurs in your dinosaur park. Yes.
Yeah, it is weird that no one else makes dinosaur movies.
Yeah. Right.
Other than that last one that sucked, but that's fine.
Yeah, with Adam Driver, 65.
I'm sure it's probably a high standard to try and follow.
Although there's like maybe two good Jurassic Park movies.
I think the first trilogy is pretty good.
Yeah, first
Jurassic-
trilogy's
Trilogy,
cool.
I feel like the third one's trash.
Oh, see, I actually really like Jurassic
no, the
Park.
third
3.
one or the second one?
The third one's the one with the Spinosaurus when they go
Yes.
back with
I find
yeah.
that
They
whole
steal
story
the pterodactyl egg.
pterodactyls.
William
are
H
in it.
Macy and Tia Leone drive me
Leone.
insane the
Yeah,
entire time.
William H Macy, not my favorite, but I just think that the dinos in that one are pretty sweet.
What
Yeah.
about the world with the white T-Rex?
The what's it called?
right?
The
Is that Jurassic World?
Jurassic World is the one with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. They were in the second trilogy, but the first one,
the
in
one
that
where he
is
trains
okay.
raptors. Yeah, I'm
He's
good with that.
Training raptors.
You can't like train raptors to be your
Yeah.
friends.
It's the Indominus
head off.
Rex. That's the name of the dino that they cooked up in the lab. The iRex. See what they did there?
Mhm.
iPad, iPhone, iRex. Ooh, technology stuff.
Clever girl.
Clever girl. Clever girl indeed. Let's see. What else do I have here? Oh, last but certainly not least, before we jump into our movie, this will be a brief one here, you guys. Let's see. Sydney Sweeney horror movie Immaculate, rated R for, quote, bloody violence and nudity, to which I say simply giggity.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that movie actually does look pretty awesome, though. And it has the added element of Sydney Sweeney. So, I'm sure it'll bring lots of male horror
If it was
viewers
just
to the
some old
party.
lady's boobs, like not even her boobs, just some like random old lady. That's the nudity.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
That'd
Be a bold move.
That'd be upsetting.
That'd be like, leaving your Ferrari in the garage and taking the, LeBaron out for a drive. I don't really understand why you do that. But,
Maybe she doesn't want to show him. She's probably already shown him in a bunch of
yeah, well, she certainly has. Cool. That's what I got for news, guys. Anyone have anything else before we delve into tonight's topic, our movie, our film?
Real quick, but just a shout out. I kind of want to see it. Not really a horror movie, but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
That
yeah,
looks
that
good.
got a trailer during the Super
Yeah, I
Bowl,
like
too.
the other ones. So
Yeah, those ones are cool.
They definitely kind of skirt the line. I feel like they're
It's a
very
horrifying thing.
very sci-fi. It's a horrific situation. Clearly, if you're in it, very sci-fi heavy. But I think a lot more sci-fi stuff kind of is right on that
Borders
line.
the
This,
line,
this
yeah.
is this is one of those movies though that I feel like a lot of horror fans will see, and probably were fans of the most recent trilogy of movies.
not the Mark Wahlberg version.
No,
That's
God, no.
terrible.
Nope.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti, was he in one?
Yeah,
of
he's
those?
in it.
Which one? Oh, the one with Wahlberg.
Yeah,
The Tim Burton one.
Oh yeah, he's definitely
Oh,
he's
yeah.
he's the orangutan, right?
yeah, he plays some fat slob monkey.
He has the voice. I can recognize the voice now. It's like I can see him doing the voice for the orangutan.
Yeah.
That's
That's lovely. Love it. Tim Burton, just doing Tim Burton things with Planet of the Apes, and probably again with Attack of the 50-Foot Woman that we talked about
Oh,
last episode. So be interesting to see. And it'll be interesting to see what he does with Beetlejuice. So anyway, I digress. Why don't we pause for a quick 90-second word from our sponsors? We'll be back to talk to you about the house that Jack built.
It's official. The critics' decision is in. Spooky World is spectacular. Enter the new black hole. If you dare. Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200. It's America's horror theme park. Spooky World. Sleepy Clovers.
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then right next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
All right, we're back. Let's talk the house that Jack built. Wow, what a watch this was. Hadn't seen it before. This is a Matt recommendation. If you're a listener to this show, I'm sure you could tell that this is definitely a movie that aligns with his interests for sure. I'm not knocking it, believe me, because it's very well done. We'll get into all that here, but before I kind of hand it off to Matt here to lead the discussion on this and talk about why he picked it and some of his thoughts to lead us off. If you've never heard of The House That Jack Built, The House That Jack Built is a 2018 psychological horror art film written and directed by Lars von Trier, which is a director that Matt has been giving flowers to for quite a while. Stars Matt Dillon, Bruno Gans, Uma Thurman, Siobhan Fallon Hogan, Sophie Grayball, not sure if I pronounced that correctly or not, but sorry if I didn't, Riley Keough, and Jeremy Davies, who is Daniel Faraday, Catherine, your buddy
Yes.
from Lost. And the plot follows Jack, played by Matt Dillon, who is a serial killer that over a 12-year period from the late 1970s and 1980s commits numerous murders in the the U.S. state of Washington, utilizing Dante's Inferno as a metatext. The film is structured as a series of flashback vignettes relayed by Jack to the Roman poet Virgil, during which Jack attempts to make an argument for his crimes. So, I feel like that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of some of the content in this film, but it does give you at least a backbone of what you're in for here. So this is available to stream on Tubi right now, probably a couple of other places. It's been out for a little while.
Yeah, it was on Hulu for a while. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah, I think I saw it on there too. But Matt, I know you picked this movie for a reason, so I will defer to you first, my friend. Take it away.
Yeah, so I wanted to do something that was a little bit more intense. I want to start picking more harder horror movies to do.
Yeah, that was your New Year's resolution for the show, I think, right? Was to put the three of us through the
all of your expense.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, this is one of the harder ones I think I'll pick. And it's long too, so it's a taxing movie. So rest assured that the rest of them probably they might be more violent, but they won't be as much of a fucking job to watch through. I do. Yeah,
you
it won't be
mentioned
as long.
that, yeah.
It is a very well-made movie. I think Lars von Trier has made some incredibly monumental films, and they're all always really either incredibly sad and depressing and devastating, or unbearably violent and kind of force you to deal with some issues that you, God willing, would never have to. In this movie, I found really interesting because it almost is like a look in the mirror for him to kind of reflect on some of the like metaphorical crimes that he's committed in terms of just subjecting viewers to such atrocious things at times. But I do like this movie. As brutal as it is, I do think it's extremely entertaining. I think it's pretty funny, believe it or not, which I think we can get into because there's a lot of humor in it. I think Matt Dillon, I don't think there could have been a more perfect actor to play Jack.
Killed it.
Yeah. And I wanted to do something that was going to kind of shake it up a little bit. I wanted to kind of like take a week and kind of, have something that we can all really be like, all right, fuck, this is a lot. So I wanted to do something that was a little more serious and a little more kind of open up I wanted us all to feel something,
Yeah, I feel you.
I can appreciate that, and I think that you definitely feel some things.
I felt a lot of
Watching this
things
movie.
watching this movie.
Yeah,
I felt nothing.
Yeah, Kat's like, I mostly felt tired watching it for 2.5 hours, but other than that, I felt
And
some
there
other
was one
things, too.
part that I was a little nauseous at too.
Yeah, there were a few things that are very
I shouldn't have eaten while I was
very
watching.
hard to watch. Oh, we were definitely eating at a very inappropriate time to eat watching this. And
Yeah.
I didn't know it was coming because this is my first time seeing this movie, and I do appreciate you kind of trying to expand. Not even so much Andrew, because I feel like Andrew watches a lot of movies like this as well. Had you seen this one before?
I had never seen this one. Matt had told me about it a couple times. And I got to be honest, seeing that it was Matt Dillon, I was like, I don't really like him. He was fantastic in this movie.
No, he's a good actor.
Yeah, I don't know why I just looked at him and I was like, I don't see him in this role. But he fucking killed it. He was perfect.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. But I would say so. Like, this is probably a little bit of this. Like, this isn't normally the type of movie that Kat or I would probably go for.
No.
But so I appreciate being pushed in that direction because, it definitely wasn't something that I would not recommend to anybody. In fact, I would probably recommend it pretty highly if you, want to watch a very well-made, very dark and disturbing, pun intended, portrait of a serial killer, which this movie is. It's incredibly well acted. I admittedly, Matthew, have not seen very many. If this might be the only Lars von Trier film that I've seen, so I know I have a deep back catalog to go through and check out.
It's definitely the most horror-esque one for sure.
Okay.
I kind of think of this movie as if you took like American Psycho and Forrest Gump and smashed it together.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That is a really interesting comparison, and I can see both of those. Yeah, he definitely has a lot of Patrick Bateman qualities to him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But it's just like his like
of
recanting of his whole like kind of like life basically through just this like casual stroll with this old preacher.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm sure there's a lot we can talk about with that. But this is obviously a very heady, very psychological, I would say, some might say pretentious.
Extremely,
movie.
I would call it that.
Yeah. So if that's not necessarily your thing, it may not be for you. But if you can get through the brutal violence and violence against every living creature on God's green earth, you probably can also deal with some of the the deeper themes of this movie, I would say. So I actually liked it a lot. It definitely felt a little long actually no, that's let me go back, because I don't think it felt long at times. It was just very drawn out. I feel like there was some stuff that they could have like shortened a little bit. But I mean, I was glued to the screen the entire movie. So I liked it. I'd recommend it. Andrew, I know that you also, in talking to you while not recording, you're a fan of this one as well. Your thoughts, my friend?
So without getting into, too deeper spoilers, I thought this movie was fucking awesome. This movie was right up my alley, and it's weird. So we'll talk about it later, but there's a certain scene like about halfway through this movie that's absolutely brutal. So when I first started watching the movie, it was 2.5 hours. I got to this point in said movie, and I was like, I think this is a good place to stop, because I was never going to finish it. And also I was like, I needed a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next day when I went to rewatch it, I went, you know what? I want to watch that scene. And I went backwards and watched that scene again to start off, finishing the movie, because that scene is absolutely.
So you watched it twice?
I watched that scene. I've actually watched the scene 3. I watched it again on a short of it. Dude, I love that scene. It's so fun.
Sicko.
That scene is so fucked, but it makes that movie so ridiculously good, because it just goes to a whole different level. I also love I think it's the most unique serial killer movie I've ever seen. It's also my first Lars von Trier movie. I haven't seen, what was it, Antichrist?
Mm-hmm. That's a harsh one too.
Yeah. It's just a very interesting story. It's 2.5 hours long, but like Mike said, it's very fluid almost. It works. A lot of Seven vibes in there.
I thought that too, actually.
Especially like when the first incident, second incident.
Yeah, like the title cards,
the title cards,
very much so.
But also just like his almost like belief system that he has is very fucking wild, similar to Spacey's kind of.
Yeah, John Doe and Seven. Yep.
And very similar to the Red Dragon, because he's all about William Blake and shit too, and he talks a lot about William Blake. Yeah. A+ movie, Mike. I mean, Matt, great pick. I was very surprised at how much I like that movie.
I didn't think any of you guys were gonna like it at all.
Oh, really?
So I'm glad that you did. Yeah. I figured it just would have been too much. Like I had mentioned before, like when I picked it, I didn't initially think of how long it actually was. I did forget that I knew it was probably close to 2 hours, but I didn't think it was that long. But I did know that it had like some really, really, really extreme sequences of violence against like women and children, which is like, that's tough. Like it's one thing when it's like it's Terrifier, because it's like it's kind of so over the top, but where this movie is so realistic and it's so matter of fact and so grounded, and the violence is really, really realistic looking, it definitely adds a different element to it. So I'm glad that you two both liked it. I don't know how Kat felt about it. I'm sure Kat didn't, but
perfect time.
Wait for Kat's turn.
Perfect time to ask. Kat, what'd you think?
No, I really liked it too.
Wow.
So there you go.
Sweet.
Are we on to my thoughts? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. First thought, at one point I was like, wait a minute, is this guy Jim Carrey? Not Matt Dillon. But I was like, logistically, like time, age-wise, he wouldn't look like that. But he kind of really looks like Jim Carrey, like a younger Jim Carrey. He has that weird jaw, like structure that he has.
I actually think that him and Jim Carrey are probably close to the same age.
Really?
Yeah. They got to be at least a few years apart.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, at one point I looked at him and I had this epiphany, like, oh my God, is that Jim Carrey? And I was like, no, that can't be Jim Carrey.
Could you imagine if this movie had Jim Carrey?
I think Jim Carrey as a serial killer would actually make for a pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean.
movie.
That's what I was like, wow, this movie's so over the top. Like, maybe it is Jim Carrey.
I meant more like if it was Jim Carrey, but like as his character from like Ace Ventura or something.
Yeah, like out of control person. Yeah,
that'd be hilarious.
So for reference, Jim Carrey's 62.
Shit.
Matt Dillon's 59.
So they're really not that off.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're close.
Wow.
62.
Yep, 62.
No, but I really liked. I liked that this movie kind of made me think a little bit. because I feel like I've been watching so much nonsense on whenever I have time. I'm like throwing on Jersey Shore, like Pioneer, like whatever, just like nonsense in the background. Like, I know I totally knocked you mad about this movie being long, but that's mostly because I can't sit still. Like,
No,
this
it is a
actually
long movie.
But this like forced me to like sit and watch a movie. Like, I'm just really not good at sitting for that long of a period of time. But I actually got to do that today, which was good. So thank you in a sense. But yeah, so I thought that I liked the artistic piece. I liked how there were little bits in there, like playing the song Fame over and over and over again on like all the different sequences, and then like kind of imitating that whole idea of insanity where he's just doing the same thing like over and over and over again. Like I think
the
at one
OCD.
point, yeah, the OCD and like the mental health disorder stuff, like all of these different things about this movie made it like more and more real. And I liked it. I thought that it was different from anything that we've talked about where it's just like a slasher or a monster movie or whatever. Like, this was way more out of the box, and I really liked the artistic style that it had like throughout the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
Von Trier he is European, so this is technically like it's an American movie, but it is a foreign directed movie.
yeah,
And I think that's where you kind of get that like sort of like it doesn't feel like you're watching something that was made
right.
in like a mainstream box office or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the style was awesome. I really liked the style of this movie.
Sweet. I'm glad you guys did like it. It makes me I don't feel as bad anymore.
Yeah, we were always just like, Jesus Christ, Matt, what the fuck did we just watch?
I mean,
Kinda, that's what I was anticipating.
The one really brutal scene that made me nauseous was
There was
that
one other
scene.
scene that made me really uncomfortable. We won't talk about that yet.
Yeah, we can go full spoiler in a little bit here. I think it's just good to give some general thoughts in case somebody wants to listen to this briefly before they delve into the movie, see if it's for them or not. Kat, I couldn't agree more with when you said that you liked the fact that this movie made you think, because that was also one of the things that I was just conscious of the entire time watching the movie. Like I said, I was not typically on my phone. I was just like, all right, I need to know what's going on here. I need to see what this guy's up to. I think, Andrew, you called Matt Dillon in this movie at one point in our group thread a menace, and that is probably a perfect way of describing his character in this. And I just think that he is one of the more underrated actors, from his generation.
He was fantastic.
He was in like a lot of like Coppola stuff in the 80s. He was in like Rumblefish and The Outsiders, and then a lot of people know him from like Something About Mary. That's obviously a comedy.
I have a funny thing to bring up about his character in that movie.
Okay, go for it.
Well, it's just because in that movie he obviously like lies through his teeth, and then he tells her that he's an architect. So it's funny because he's like in this movie, Jack is a failed architect as well.
Yep.
So I always thought I wonder if like he plays off of that on purpose, like when he was coming up with the story or not. But I always thought that was kind of funny.
Interesting. He's like Art Vandelay.
Yeah, it's a failed architect.
A failed architect.
I knew I always wanted to be an architect.
You know that I always wanted to pretend to be an architect, Jerry. But I Dylan got nominated for an Oscar for Crash, which I know a lot of people have.
I haven't seen that in so long.
A lot of people have polarizing feelings about that movie. I thought Crash was actually pretty good, and he's an asshole in that movie, but he's clearly very, very good.
I own it on DVD over there.
I know you do. Yeah.
It's a good movie, yeah.
Yeah, Dylan's been doing good stuff for a while, and he's one of those actors that like does not do a ton of stuff. Like I was actually looking at his filmography earlier today. He's not like one of those guys in like 5 things a year, like cashing checks and doing shit roles. He waits for stuff. Like he's pretty selective about what he does, which I think is interesting. So,
You know what I just realized?
What?
The reason I was like, I don't like Matt Dillon is I had him confused with someone else till just now.
Who did you think he was?
I thought he was one of those. I thought he was one of the douchebags on that show on HBO, the Entourage.
Oh, that's his brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kevin Dillon, Johnny Drama.
yeah.
That's his brother.
I was like, I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like so confused. I was like, wait, I'm thinking of the wrong person. So.
Entourage is a show for douchebags, so I can't.
That's why I thought I was like, is he on that show? I hate that guy.
Yeah. Matt, you're not an Entourage guy, are you? I feel like
I've watched it, but I watched the whole thing when I was like in high school. But it's
Yeah.
fine. I never
Matt.
thought it was as great as some people think it is.
Oh yeah, I know certain people that think it's like one of the best HBO shows, and I'm like, dude, are you high? Like, get the fuck
They
out
probably are
of here.
douchebags.
Well, yeah, debatable, but actually not that debatable. But anyway,
If they're listening, it's debatable.
yeah. So I would say at this point, if you have not seen Lars von Trier's The House That Jack Built, probably turn back now and come back. Pause the episode right here. We'll still be here when you get back. So Matt, I'll go back to you. Dude, I feel like this movie is just such an experience to watch. I feel like we have to talk about some of the, as I mentioned in the episode description, the metatextual stuff going on here with, obviously the whole movie is narrated by Matt Dillon talking to somebody else that you come to find out is named Virgil. He goes by Verge.
Yeah, he's like leading him to hell.
Yeah, pretty much. And you kind of find out what happens at the end and how it all, he came to get to that point. So Matt, yeah, what do you have on that aspect of this movie? I had some notes on this too, but I want to hear what what your take is on it and all that.
So the whole thing, I think you kind of go through it and it's just him recanting all these situations that kind of propelled his hunger for violence and fueled him being a serial killer as he kept going. Each of these are like his highlighted kills. But the other thing too is that the whole time, and then it kind of comes into live as it's being told just before, where you have it all blow up in the end. And there's a point in that I want to put a pin in for now that I want to get back to, that kind of is the reason why I brought up American Psycho. But and he's traveling through and literally he descends into hell. He goes to hell and dies. I think what happens is he gets killed by police, and this whole thing is his just the beginning of his purgatory on the way into hell.
Yeah, and I think that is a good way to look at it, because
I've also seen this movie 4 times. So
okay, so you've seen it a lot.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it too, though. At the end there.
Well, I mean, he's certainly an unreliable narrator. This is one of those stories where
Right.
I think you probably can't take everything that he says or everything that you are shown as 100% fact.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he certainly maybe exaggerates some stuff. I feel like even Virgil or Verge, calls him out on that, kind of throughout the story a little bit, which is interesting. But
yeah, he kind of calls him stupid, and he kind of he gives him shit, which is funny. He accepts his admittance to murder, but he kind of gives him shit for the contradictory of his character of being so meticulous about being clean and tidy when he's but you're butchering people.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting aspect too, was the fact that he started out as, having OCD, and that just kind of faded as he turned into more and more of a maniac. Yeah,
so that was the American Psycho thing I had. So he kind of, which I think is, in terms of the movie being a horror movie, the violence is really intense and really frightening, but his descent as a human being and his mental deterioration in terms of how careful he was, and then just how much he really stopped caring, is, I think, the most frightening aspect of the entire movie, because that's what happens. People just they just go and they slip, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And this is obviously to the umpteenth degree, but I think that's what kind of really draws this into the horror category for me.
Agreed. I think this is a horror movie through and through. 100%.
Oh, I mean,
Are you kidding me?
This is on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I did have a question it would obviously be for Mike or Matt. Have you guys ever read Dante's Inferno?
Yes.
Okay.
I have not.
I'm curious because I don't know anything about it. So Virgil's character, I know that he's the poet Virgil that's leading him down, Dante, into hell. He's his tour guide, basically. Is his job as the tour guide to figure out why this person's in hell so he knows where to bring them? Is that the point of him? Or
Which depth of hell?
Yeah.
Matt,
Yeah, because it's hard because the way the book's written is all in these crazy 14th century poems. But from what I gathered from it, it's just he's going down to like rescue like a family member or like a wife or something.
Oh, that's
And
right.
he he's drawn through, and like he has like kind of like a spiritual guide that kind of gives him insight on like what each part of hell is for, and like why those people are there and why some people get put there by accident and like stuff like that. But I mean, I'd have to go back and like kind of look through it. I read it when I was probably a senior in high school.
Okay, yeah,
because I played the game too. There was like a really sick video game, Dante's Inferno, and
I know that.
I played that, and like there's actually like a good amount of the storyline and some of that, like those like footnotes in the game, which is really cool if you like take the time to like listen to the dialogue when there's like the little clips. But it did make me want to read the book, so I did, and it took me a long time because it was really hard. I had to use like a study guide almost to kind of understand. Yeah, basically there's like a version that kind of basically like dumbs it down, just because it's like written like Shakespeare almost, but like way harder.
Yeah, I feel like that's like trying to read Dracula, except like hundreds of years older. It's just like
it's not even that much. It's like because it's like artistic and I guess pretentious, even like the way it's written, because it's all poetry. So it's like you're just reading these like stanzas of like descriptions of hell, but it's just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Well, yeah, because I read something when I was looking up this movie that Dante chose Virgil as his tour guide through hell because Virgil had written the other great epic, the Aeneid, which the one before that was the Odyssey. So basically, it's Dante.
Oh, the Iliad.
No, the Aeneid.
The Aeneid. Okay.
Homer wrote the Iliad. Virgil, the poet, wrote the Aeneid.
Because I thought Homer wrote the Odyssey too. No,
he wrote the Odyssey and the Iliad.
Yeah, I thought he wrote both.
No, but this
I would have to touch up on all those.
Yeah,
this is the
not my forte.
is it the Iliad or the Aeneid? It's A-N, or is that?
Oh no, Iliad is I-L.
Yeah, so this is the Aeneid, a different word.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why he picked him, because he was basically getting the baton from Virgil to take over the epic.
The baton.
The baton.
Passing the talking stick.
Passing of the baton.
Very interesting words. Aeneid and Iliad.
Well, that's
the baton. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, so I was just curious, and then I realized when Matt was talking, I was like, oh yeah, Dante's actually just going through hell. He's not staying there. So
yeah,
they probably never even talked about it.
Yeah, he's like Jack's being brought to hell.
Yeah.
And that's why he basically gets put in that pit, and then he can't get out.
Because what I thought was interesting is, so did he fall into the ninth circle of hell?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fitting then, because the ninth circle, when I looked it up, is for people that are treacherous or traitors or deceivers. That's the ninth circles for those.
Yeah, which he is evil. Yeah, he always was tricking people into.
Yeah, he was a menace, treacherous menace.
Yeah, I would call him treacherous, traitorous, and deceiver as well.
Even SP at the end, when he kills him and he gets him to put his down, then he basically, "You've never lied to me." And it's like, he's lied to you a bazillion times. I'll stab you in the neck.
Yeah.
Well, two of the girls in the movie are his girlfriends.
Which
is even more wild. Yeah, he's just like, how that guy got two girlfriends is insane.
So I want to talk about that in a little bit, but before I do, just before we get off like the literary stuff here, and we can put a pin in that, because I know we talked a lot about Dante already. So I was able to find, so basically, like, Jack and Verge are very reminiscent of Dante's, the Divine Comedy and Inferno. Apparently also features elements from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Faust, where the characters Mephistopheles and Faust travel through the world beyond the laws of physics and investigate humanity. I guess the guy that plays Virgil in this movie, Bruno Ganz, is one of the most celebrated Faust performers in theater history. So that casting was intentional for that. Was what I was able to find.
Interesting.
Not familiar with that work either. This is just all internet research, half-assed internet research on my behalf. So that's what I found.
No, that's a cool fact. I didn't know that, because Faust I always have seen as like a Criterion Collection thing too.
Yep. Let's talk about the serial killing aspect of this movie, because I feel like it's obviously the part that makes it the most horror, and for horror fans, probably the most interesting part of the movie, even as brutal and abhorrent most of those scenes are. I think you can clearly, I noticed it before I even looked anything up after watching the movie. I feel like how much this is a very real depiction of what a serial killer would operate like. I feel like this is like a stunning, very disturbing portrait of that type of thing.
Yeah.
The first one that I thought of at the time was Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy killed in the Pacific Northwest. This is supposed to take place in Washington State. You know, he's kind of well put together. Like, you know, Matt Dillon's a handsome guy, even though this guy's kind of an awkward, like, you know, engineering mind, like dorky kind of guy that just happens to be a psychopath.
Yeah,
But
he's smooth talking.
Yeah, like Matt Dillon was very much inspired by Ted Bundy early on when he was cast in this movie. But apparently, like some of the other stuff in here too that you can see.
Well, especially Mike, if you're talking about Ted Bundy,
Uh-huh.
the time period, number one.
Yeah, 70s.
The crutch.
Yep, the crutch.
Yeah,
That was
the
a
crutch.
huge thing. Killing people with
He was a handsome-
tire iron.
a handsome
That's
white
another
guy.
thing. Yep, handsome guy. Also, though, the part where he is in the apartment with Simple before he kills her, and she runs outside, and the police don't believe her because she's
Right.
drunk, and he's also drunk. That is literally what Jeffrey Dahmer did at least once.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. So that was a thing.
And that was also right before he got caught, too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, yeah, I feel like this is clearly inspired by some of those real life acts, which I think makes it like that much scarier when you realize that type of stuff.
Ed Gein too.
Ed Gein, with the wallet. Ooh, oh my God.
I was like, that's a fucked. Or I was like, that's more like a coin purse, but
Yeah.
you can call it a wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, coin purse. Coin purse works.
Yeah.
Uh,
Big areola on that
Really
coin purse.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting, and then also this was something I found in my little research here too. But so this is supposed to have started in the early '70s and takes place into the '80s. Uma Thurman in this movie asks him directly, "Are you a
That
serial
is
killer?"
Uma Thurman.
It's Uma
Oh
Thurman.
my god, I had no
Sure
idea
is.
who that lady was.
She's
Wow,
so annoying. Oh my god.
that's so weird.
So the
wow.
term serial killer was not actually coined until 1974 by the guy who's actually, dramatized
Captain
in
Crunch.
Mindhunter. So that actually did happen in 1974, but the term actually wasn't like popular in, wasn't a known word in the American household until like 1981. So there would have been no way that Uma Thurman would have known that term when she was talking to him in that time period. But obviously, because movie, we'll let
Good
that slide.
catch.
Yep.
Mike the English major.
So yeah, lots of good serial killer stuff in here. If you like serial killer stuff, not like I would say, or you appreciate it. I don't even know what the word
Love.
is here. Love, yes, adore.
Adoration.
God. Cat.
Strive for. No.
Biggest question I had for you, and I was so excited when I noticed this and thought of this because I wanted to know your thoughts. Everyone else can chime in too. What is the significance of the color red in this movie? Because it pops up everywhere at important
I
times.
had all notes on that.
So Jack's van, Simple's telephone and telephone cord that she ultimately is, killed with, partially.
The tired,
The
So
car
at the
jack.
beginning, yeah.
All of the hats and clothes that everyone's wearing during the hunting scene.
Mhm.
The robe that he's wearing as he's descending into hell
Wow.
is obviously a thing here. So it means something.
It's like the Sixth
I looked it up.
Sense.
Mhm. Thoughts?
Red.
Everybody?
Did you
Means
know?
death.
Cat?
Death?
Death
I mean, I did
or-
ask Cat first. No,
Yeah.
you don't have enough. Did you notice that? I
I
would've
didn't.
thought-
I didn't notice that.
No,
No,
I would've
the
thought for
minute,
sure.
the
I
was like,
minute
there's
that
something to
you say
do with
that,
that.
though, then I'm like, oh my god, Sixth Sense. That's so funny.
All right, Andrew, go ahead then.
So red obviously means a lot of things. It means like vengeance. It's very sexual.
Wrath.
Wrath.
Mhm.
But it also, so I think what I think, because this movie is very like he's going to hell. There's a lot of religious overtones to it. The fact that at the very end, the red finally comes together in its most noticeable form. Because you notice it on the van and everything else, but it's not, you notice it at most at the end when he takes SP's robe and he's wearing it for the rest of the movie. He's wearing the red robe,
Climbing the
which
red
is
wall.
what kings would do in medieval times to declare that it is their God-given right to rule. So I feel like he's such a pretentious piece of shit type of person that he probably was like, this is my right to rule. I'm taking over now. I'm going to wear this robe. That's what
Interesting.
I got out of it.
Okay.
That is a hot take there.
But the red was all over the place. I was like,
Everywhere.
Wow.
Very noticeable. I thought immediately. I think with the first scene where he pulls up in the van, I was like, that's an odd choice for a serial killer to have for a van
okay,
color.
white.
Right? White van. It's like cherry red, and everything in the movie's red. So much stuff. So I noticed it right away. Matt, go ahead,
sorry.
Kat.
No, I
Okay,
was
go ahead.
I was gonna say like that when you said that though, the hats. I felt like the hats stood out to me at one point because I was like, why are they all wearing red hats? And I was like, Well, they're hunting.
Hmm.
Probably.
I think hunters wear red hats so that you can see it. Obviously,
I'm
pretty sure that's a
Yeah, I
thing.
was like, there. I kind of noticed
still.
the red, but I
Yeah.
wasn't. It didn't really like stick out to me, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny that you said that. Sorry. So that was the end of my thought.
No, that's okay. Matt, anything there?
No, I think you guys kind of touched upon anything I would have been able to look up or find. There's a lot of cool pictures where they're kind of like, and it all has to do with like what we were talking about before, all those like old stories and poems and stuff of them kind of like going through the sea of bodies of hell, like that kind of imagery and everything like that. I have a question for Kat.
Yeah.
When you were watching this, did you feel like this guy, because I think I felt it. Do you feel like this was like almost like a misogynistic approach on how women are viewed by the character or even the director?
I mean, it was a view. I mean, potentially, because yeah, I mean, most of the women in there were portrayed, even like the simple girl, like who was supposed to be one that he liked or like thought was, but she was still kind of dumb anyway. But
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and then he carves,
Yeah.
slurs
yeah,
into
he
his
carves her
body.
boobs out. Yeah, I
Well, the
mean,
fact
So
that he,
I noticed like
dots it out before
immediately, like you could just tell like the way they set it up and like the way he's talking to her.
yeah,
That's very like just calling her dumb every 3.5 seconds, calling her
Yeah.
a fucking moron. Like,
but I think
it's a-
that's also just the way he, like, yeah, how he was supposed to view women. Like that was his view on women because it was part of his character.
he's a narcissist.
Is what I
Yeah.
pretty much got out of that. But I don't
There's a
know.
lot of-
I mean,
There's
yeah,
a lot of buzz that Lars von Trier was expressing his hatred for women through this movie.
I mean,
which
sure.
that could be a thing. I mean, that people kind of like
So-
will find those kind of things no matter what. But there's certain things that it's like you kind of have to wonder because it's like, okay, you look at Uma Thurman, who's like insufferable,
Mhm.
and then you look at the next character who she's just dumb as a bag of nails.
Yeah.
And then like even the next character with the two kids, and it's just like she's just like she can't do any, like she, you know what I mean? She has just no fight. There's nothing she can do. So it's just like he kind of portrays women as like just kind of like he has like a pretty bleak way of just making them look very just useless or disposable or stupid.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
the
but-
violence against them is so incredibly angry.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you kind of were watching it and that's why I was surprised when you said you liked it. I kind of figured you might be a little bit put off by it, but
I mean, not in that sense. I was more turned off by that one scene where they killed the wife and kids. Just the whole
yeah.
moralistic kind of thing.
Yeah.
That turned
Totally
me
brutal.
off beyond like just portraying women as stupid.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, I know, power to women. Yeah. Woohoo. But I mean, at the same time, I'm like, people have their views and they want to have characters have a certain view to fit a certain criteria, which I felt like for him, for the character at least, I mean, maybe it is a further conversation about the director. I don't know too much about him, so I'm not sure. But I think for this character, it was fitting for him to prey on these like idiot women.
Vulnerable, I would say,
Yeah.
as well. Not just
Yeah.
idiots, but
The first Uma Thurman was an idiot. She was
She was an
so.
idiot,
Oh
yeah.
my god, she was.
Yeah.
I almost was like, oh Matt, I hate this movie so much. Why did you make me watch
Hey, you
this?
think
Then
this
you
guy?
get the
Why
payoff.
don't you get him really mad so that he kills you?
Right.
Right?
You
That's
get
a
the
good-
payoff because they smashes her in the face with a fucking
Yeah.
tire
Right?
iron.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, thank
I love that
God.
the jack was red, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
the jack smashing a jack into her face,
Yep,
sweet."
Jack killing with a jack.
I love it.
Matt, did I see? I thought I did that. He's caught some flack for that though from a lot of people, like for being a misogynist, amongst many other things that you can research, like shit that he's said. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, he's out there for sure. He's gotten in trouble at some award ceremonies for doing some questionable stuff. But I noticed that, and I've read it before about this movie. It's like people kind of wondering, like, is this a vehicle for Lars von Trier to kind of, just kind of use an outlet to destroy women, and whether or not he's physically doing it, but he's creating these characters that are getting quite literally physically destroyed. But I was just curious. I just want to kind of bring that up because it was kind of a prominent debate when this movie came out.
So
a lot of walkouts at Sundance, that's for sure.
So I had that in my notes as well, and if I remember correctly, was it at Cannes he showed this movie, and
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah,
it was like the first time he was allowed back in over 6 years because of some of the shit that he said. This is like the first movie that he actually showed there and over like for a really long time.
yeah. From what I understand, he made some sort of he claimed joke by like quoting Hitler, like being ironic, and obviously nobody got it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Dumb.
So yeah, but you know
Anytime
what?
you want to quote Hitler, it's probably not going to work out well for you. I would say
the guy's Western European, so
yeah. Just avoid Hitler altogether, guys. When in doubt, avoid Hitler. I would say.
The only thing I would say to that misogyny take though isn't you're telling a story about a serial killer. They could say that about any movie that's been made about a serial killer because they're
they
all
said the same thing about American Psycho.
yeah, and even Henry Portrait of a serial killer probably, right? Or Maniac.
Probably, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Maniac got a lot of
Stuart,
flack, too.
what was his name? William Lustig definitely got some hate, but his was much more pornographic and
Yeah,
gritty and kind of grimy. This was a lot more sophisticated, and I think that was what rubbed people the wrong way with it because they were like, you fleshed out characters.
This is a
Like
very artsy fartsy film.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
They were
Especially
like, you really took time to do it. So
That's why I like it. I like the artsy.
Matt, question: you've seen this movie 4 times. Remind me, one of the first characters that dies, like the second female, that's his first girlfriend, right?
no, the lady that he
What?
shows up at her house.
No, the lady with the see, there's another person in there that gets thrown in, and the thing is, they don't give you like any background on it. It's he strangles her for like 5
the
seconds.
lady
Yeah.
with like the
That's his
the
girlfriend.
thing
they
on her
film.
head. Yeah, they're like hooking up.
They're
So
hooking
it's
up.
either
So-
a girlfriend or it's like some sort of.
and
you
what
know.
was her deal? Because they don't give you any sort of. She's just putting she's putting that same picture when he like brings them back both up to the apartment to pose them.
Well, that's the thing. So that scene actually is important because that's a catalyst to him kind of getting sloppy because that's where he
Yeah.
kind of starts to say, this is where I like started losing my touch in terms of being, and like the dude Virgil calls him out for that. He's like, no, you're starting to not care as much. And so that's what he does. He's bringing her back and he realizes that the pictures he took of her didn't develop great. So he goes back, and in the meantime, he sees this lady walking in the street who sees him, and just because of that, he puts it in reverse and runs her over, which I think is like that's one of the most outside of the hunting scene. I think that's the most brutal part of the movie, because it's just the wrong place, wrong time, which is like it's so much scarier because it's like that can happen to anybody. So you could just be out walking your dog, and like you're seen by the wrong person that doesn't want to be seen. And so he brings her back and they take all those pictures and the poses. It's just like, it's such a fucking
So
delve into insanity.
Okay.
Um,
While you're on that, I need to talk about this. I need to get this off my chest right now. I've held it in too long. The fact that he takes, was it Grumpy
yeah.
or the other kid?
Grumpy. He wants to make him happy.
He rigor mortises him into essentially a sculpture, and then puts that smile on his face and then props him up in his freezer for the entire rest of the movie. And every time he goes in there, you see him. That was, I thought, the creepiest part of the fucking movie. That was absolutely horrible.
I remember, and this is fucked, but the first time I watched it, it came out in 2018. I was living downtown, and I made my roommate watch it with me. I was like, we got to watch this movie. And he was like, all right, whatever. And I remember that happened, and we paused it when it showed, because it's kind of like he's kind of in the way, and then he moves and it reveals like what he did to the kid. And I remember we paused it and we looked at it for like 5 minutes because we were just like, that is unbelievable. Like, it was, the effects of it were incredible, but it was like that, we were like, this is the most horrific thing I've ever seen in a movie. It was like literally like that was the most outrageously abhorrent violence that I was like, we were just awestruck by it. And then we kept watching it. But I just remember that being like, we were like, this had to have been when everyone walked out of the movie. But it was just like, what a fucking, there was at that point, you're like, there's no rules. There's absolutely no rules.
Everything's on the table.
Yeah.
The duckling scene.
That's fucking.
Oh my god,
that was bad.
The scissors.
Ugh, that was awful.
Yeah, and it's just quick and like, yeah.
That was thankfully very quick. But yeah, dude, he essentially creates like a little mini fucking Joker that just hangs out there waving for the next.
Well, and then you see the whole house
hour
that
and a
he,
half.
the house that
they
Jack
built
builds
is
is made of
incredible,
corpses.
too. Yeah.
That reminded me of that scene in Hannibal on the beach, the show, the
Yeah,
TV show when it's like the tower that he
Mhm.
built of it, of all the bodies.
This definitely has a lot of. I mean, obviously Hannibal was on like NBC, but Hannibal was pretty violent for even for a show like that. Has a lot of vibes of that. I definitely got the Seven vibes that you were talking about,
Mhm.
Andrew, because not only like the title cards and stuff, but I think the like Seven they reference and talk about, and it draws heavily from Dante's Inferno as well.
Yeah.
And they like talk about it in that, so
Deadly
it has like
Sins,
a
yeah.
very similar vibe, just a very bleak outlook on the
Like
human
Old
experience.
Testament style
Yeah,
religious view. Yeah.
very much so. Ugh, yeah. Yeah, I really dug this movie. I'm actually I'm surprised that you're surprised that I liked it.
I didn't think you'd think it was a bad movie, but I kind of figured that the violence I kind of figured the violence was going to be a little too much. Well, I'm glad it wasn't. So now, if this was kind of, I was like, I'm gonna throw you guys out of the ice bath into a hot tub. So,
Yeah. It was a hot tub.
Yeah,
for
another,
her.
when he's forcing her to feed the apple pie to
Oh,
the kids
God.
on
Yeah.
the picnic, I'm like, Jesus Christ! And then you can just see that she has no will to even
No will
live,
to
because he goes,
live.
"What's your favorite number?"
Yeah.
She's like 12. And he just starts walking away, counting. I was like,
counting
"Oh my
to 12.
God!"
Yeah.
And then the second shot, like when she's just laying there like a deer dying on the ground, and he just
Mhm.
like pummels her in the back with it. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus
That was
Christ!
nuts.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah.
Oh, dude, and she
Absolutely
it
nuts.
like blows her shoes off. It's just
Yeah.
like he's using.
Well,
like, a
dude, when
60
he
caliber
shoots
rifle.
Grumpy's leg, you can just see the
Blows it
leg
off.
just from the knee just blow off. I was like, Jesus Christ!
Oh,
Well, that's the other thing too. And like the violence in the movie is extremely realistic, and that happens in Antichrist. Antichrist is a really, really sad movie. It deals with two parents losing their toddler, and their subsequent kind of guilt trip that they take themselves on, and it ends up getting into a sexual mutilation between the two of them, and you're not left anything to the imagination with that either.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that film at this point.
That's a hard one.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be the next movie I watch. Because now I'm like, I gotta watch some more of these guys' movies.
That's on Tubi as well. But it's very good, but it's really long. There's a lot of dialogue. It's much more slow.
Yeah.
But like it's a pretty bummer.
Was it
Of
Willem
movies.
Dafoe and who else?
William Dafoe and fuck, dude.
All right.
okay.
So actually, while we brought that up, you were talking about Antichrist. I did see, and Matt, I don't know if you saw this or not, but apparently,
Charlotte Gainsbourg.
yep, her too. She arrives at my next point as well. Apparently, in the fourth incident, when Jack's talking with Verge, they flash a bunch of clips from Von Trier's other movies.
Yeah.
So in those clips, you see glimpses of actors like Jamie Bell, Willem Dafoe, Charlotte Gainsbourg, Nicole Kidman, Udo Kier, Kirsten Dunst, because they all appeared in his prior films, and he used imagery from his own films in that sequence. So all of those actors are given uncredited roles in this movie.
That's kind of where people are drawing the speculation that Von Trier decided to hold a mirror up to himself, and basically he is Jack walking through purgatory, confessing the sins of all these just quite vicious stories that he's kind of laid out for people to be subjected to.
Huh. That's
incredibly interesting.
So that's actually very interesting, because I was browsing on Wikipedia and I thought the name of the movie was very interesting, because that's based off of a nursery rhyme, very old nursery rhyme. So I did a little research on that nursery rhyme and where else it had appeared in popular culture. So in a 1984 movie, Element of Crime by Lars von Trier, a prostitute named Kim is reading The House That Jack Built to a kid in that movie, who's in that like whorehouse. He's stuck there. And then I looked up like, what is the point? Because I read The House That Jack Built. It's really bizarre, like just stupid fucking nursery rhyme. And I was like, what is it? It's essentially, this is Wikipedia. It's a culminative tale that does not tell the story of Jack's house or even of Jack, who built the house, but instead shows how the house is indirectly linked to other things and people, and through this method tells the story of the man all tattered and torn. Like that's kind of an interesting. It's very like it.
Parallel.
I feel like that,
Yeah.
that
Like you
describes
pick-
the,
like you-
the movie.
Like you picked that name for
Yeah,
a reason, but
literally.
that could also be
Yeah.
why he picked the name of the movie, because he was giving away his own, like Matt just said, like it was about him.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Well, I do
That-
think it's funny that he quite literally shows that he is hooked and strung and posed and snapped and bent and
Yeah.
tied and tethered together a actual quite literal doll, not really a dollhouse, but a playhouse of just human corpses.
Yeah.
And when you see that at the end, because the whole movie, he kind of hints that he's always wanted to build a house, and Virgil kind of is like, well, you never did really build the house. He's like, oh, no, I did. So, and I always found that kind of, and this is where it kind of like that dark humor comes into play, because it's like, it's so over the top that you have to like be like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like,
Well, also too, like how long would it take him to build that literal house of bodies? Like the cops were there,
Yeah.
well,
and like he definitely did. I don't think he actually built that.
no.
and how much of
much
a detriment can something like failing at your dream job pose
Oh, yeah.
to a human being?
Yeah.
You know what
like,
I mean? Like, is that also a byproduct of what led to his like kind of downward spiral? You know what I mean? So it's a really big character study. And it has so much to say about mental health. And like, that's why I brought up earlier, like just as you see throughout the movie, he fucking really, and especially towards the end, he really just, he's stealing cop cars, he's killing cops. Like, it's just like, he's just completely off the rails. Like he's spun out of control.
There's also no way he killed 61 people. There was a lot of people in that freezer, but there wasn't.
Could have been.
No.
They're right.
And it's
I
funny
mean,
that the door finally just opens up.
Yeah. there was
Right?
certain
Yeah.
firing.
Unbelievable.
Well, there's a cop car outside with the sirens on. I
Yeah,
mean,
At that point, he just doesn't
he's
give a
a
fuck
sitting
anymore.
duck.
He's
like,
just
I
like,
He knows
he's
he's
like,
yeah.
I just want to shoot this full metal jacket through these 8 guys' heads or whatever.
right.
That was the
and then I'll be
weirdest
all done.
part of the movie to me.
yeah. What a wild stunt.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. He just keeps getting like more and more. Like
Right.
he needs more. You know what I mean? So it's a frightening tale of deteriorated mental anguish.
Right.
So
A lot of Third Reich and Nazi imagery in this movie as well too.
that's the other thing too. That's Von Trier is
Von
definitely.
Trier
he's-
got a lot of shit for that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Is he
see that.
German?
He is Danish, Matt, I believe.
I'm not sure.
I think he's Danish, but yeah, I
I'm
think he has
a
like
big
German-
believer
I think
in
it's
separating
dad
the
from
art.
Germany.
I'm a big
Sorry,
believer
say
in
that again?
separating. I said sorry. I'm a big believer in separating art from the artist. So if
For
you make
sure.
a
Oh,
movie
yeah.
that I like, but you are a scumbag, I mean, I like
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie anyway.
We've
Yeah.
talked about a lot of scumbags in this podcast, so yeah, obviously, like if
Roman
you find
Polanski.
Lars von Trier to be a terrible human, then don't watch the movie. But if you can separate the two, then it's worth your time for sure.
I know so many people that listen to Chris Brown.
Dude, right? Dude, I know a lot of people listen to Chris Brown.
You
It's like,
listen to
come on.
Chris Brown.
I know a lot.
I
Of,
like
I know a lot of people that root for Tyreek Hill. So
Yeah, that's
Me too.
another good one
Yeah.
there. Well, you could say that about a lot of people in the
I had him
NFL.
on my fantasy team too. so-
Yeah, so you didn't. He willed you to a championship this year, I believe.
Sure did.
Good for you.
Oh, one last thought, and then I'm done.
Oh yeah, go for it. Because I had a couple things.
There was
left, too. Go ahead.
one part of a serial killer that he kind of reminded me of is in the movie. You ever see The Road to Perdition? Jude
Oh, I
Law,
love
where he
that
takes all the
movie.
pictures. He's taking
Yeah,
pictures of him. He
yeah.
kind of reminded me of that portion of him.
Mhm.
Jude, that's actually one of the best serial killers. I love him in that.
Road to
he's-
Perdition's a fucking
like,
awesome movie.
Jude Law's character in that
Yeah.
movie is fucking sick. It's fucking weird as shit.
That's a good Tom Hanks role too. Paul Newman's in that. That's a really good movie. Road to Perdition. Oh,
Road
were you done?
to
on that?
Perdition. No, yeah, that was it. That was my
Is that-
last random
You-
thought.
you
That was my
done?
last fucking ADHD thought.
No
of the
worries.
day.
All good. All good. Did you guys know where according to what I found online, the cue card shots were inspired by?
No.
You guys see anything about that? 'Cause
I didn't.
I have it
No.
here.
Subway
I
commercials.
forgot about that until
No,
you just said that.
not
but-
Subway commercial.
Sesame Street?
That was an interesting like segue stuff, not Sesame Street. Interesting way of like, yeah, that's just interesting filmmaking by Von Trier there, I think. Apparently was inspired by Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's music video Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yeah.
Huh.
He used a lot of cue cards
It's a
in
good
that.
song.
Yep. So random. Let's see what else I have here. Oh, and Von Trier originally developed this as a TV series, not as a movie. And
Yeah, it
ultimately
was supposed to be
turned into-
episodic.
Yeah, I can totally see that. You could just divide each incident into an episode. I think that's would be a good way to tackle it. Do you guys think it would be better as a TV show, divided up, or better as a 2.5-hour movie? Would it make a better 4 or 5 hour miniseries or a better 2.5-hour movie?
I don't think it was. I think it's good as what it is, because drawing it out anymore it would have been way too much for people. This isn't a movie
Depends how
for
you
everybody.
drew it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine. I mean, I feel like it would have been censored to bits.
Yeah. Aside from that, though,
Well, I mean, if you put it on like I'm saying you put it on like
HBO.
or HBO or Netflix or something like that, where there's
Yeah.
or Shutter. No,
You could
holds
do
barred,
like one episode at the beginning that shows why he is the way he is, and then you could do another one at the end of like his like time in hell.
Yeah.
You really wanted to get fucking
You'd have to elaborate more
episode.
on
Sure.
certain
Yeah,
aspects. You'd have
like
to go.
the girlfriend relationship, and it would probably be
See,
too much.
I'm more for it the way it is. As a
Oh,
movie.
I'm plenty fine
Yeah.
with the way
sorry,
it is.
Kat, go ahead.
There would be way more of him as a child, I bet, if that was the case. There'd probably be an entire episode dedicated to him as a child rather than just like a little segment of him clipping a duckling's leg off and watching the Sith guys.
Yeah.
Like the
Like,
opposite of young Sheldon.
It'd be a lot more to
Young
that.
Jack.
I feel like this is an oversimplification, but I feel like if you were to expand this, you'd get like a version of the Jeffrey Dahmer show with Evan Peters, as opposed to like what it actually is, which is this pretty cool movie. So I'm into it. I'm into it as a movie and not a TV show. Cool. So I think that kind of wraps up everything that I had written down here for this movie. I feel like we just talked about a couple weeks ago. We talked about Butterfly Kisses, which is a 2018 movie.
Oh yeah.
So we kind of ran through all the movies that came out in 2018. It is a pretty dope ass year. I don't necessarily feel the need to repeat all that unless you guys want to.
I would say now, having seen this movie, unless there's other,
okay. So that's actually
I would think
valid
that this
point.
movie's probably my number one movie for that year now.
So according
Depending on what
to
else came out.
your taste, Andrew, better than like Annihilation.
Yeah.
Okay, better than
Hereditary.
Hereditary came out in 2018.
Oh,
That's
no.
tough.
Hereditary's
I
better.
think it's. I don't know. I like them both equally, to be honest.
Really?
I love
They're different
Hereditary.
movies.
I love this movie.
Matt, you like this movie better than Gaspar Noé's Climax? That came out in 2018.
No, I love Climax. That's going to be my next pick.
Why am I
Spoiler
not?
alert.
Is that not surprising?
Let's see.
I've been wanting to do that one for a while.
All right. Fair. Got to lead us up to it. So yeah, 2018 is a pretty good year in horror, but this is definitely, I would say, would be close. I mean, there's some movies in here that I like, but I wouldn't call it necessarily my favorite because it's not exactly the most feel-good, happy-go-lucky.
Oh, that's why it's so good.
But it's still an excellent movie that I would highly recommend that you do watch. You can't only watch happy stuff. And then, if you do that, you're just watching, fucking trolls on Netflix.
This is the type of movie that I want to find someone to watch this movie with, to make them watch it and then have them be like, the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, why did you recommend this to me?
But I want to be sitting there and I just watch them watch it.
Yeah, here's a new movie to recommend if someone's looking for a bleak depiction of
Oh, yeah.
humanity.
Oh, you want
Oh, yeah, Justin and Audra were asking for that on their voicemail a few weeks ago. There's one. Yep, here's one for you. The House of
Yeah.
Jack
There you go.
palette cleanser to get rid of the Christmas spirit. Cool. Guys, anything further on the house that Jack built? Any final opinions? Anything else you want to mention before we move along here?
I would just like to shout out to Matt to say that this was a very good pick.
It certainly
Sweet.
was. Yeah,
I'm
nice
glad that
selection.
you guys ended up liking it. Like I said, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck, they're going to fucking think I'm a dickhead. But
No,
I'm
no,
glad
I like
you
it.
guys liked it.
I like messed up movies. Like,
I just
I-
forgot that
I
it was so
Your
long.
movies is like Requiem for a Dream.
I
which is
love
wild.
Requiem for a Dream.
I do too.
I almost watched it the other day, actually.
I also like movies like this too because there's a lot. It's like an onion. There's a lot of different layers that you can unravel.
Do you know the other day I was looking through my DVDs because
So Shrek.
I was like, I'm just gonna throw on a DVD that I have. I think you were out. I forget what it was.
Sorry, I
It was
brought
down
up
in the basement.
onions.
Anyways, I was like literally in between watching Big Fish or Requiem for a Dream.
Oh,
Those are my
Oof.
two, and I was like,
Two feel-good
random
movies.
two different
Mm.
movies to
Yeah.
be up between.
Big Fish. I mean, Big Fish is kind of. It's
Big Fish is a depressing movie. It bums
Yeah.
me out
Different-
every
no.
once in a
different
while.
different
Yeah.
type of.
I was
depressing.
gonna go for Big Fish, couldn't find it, because as I was looking for Big Fish, I saw Dodgeball, and then I watched Dodgeball.
Well,
That's
a good
the
pick.
A plus.
that
choice
was
right
actually
there.
the
Yeah.
best
There you go.
choice.
Dodgeball.
So yeah,
Cram it up your cram hole, the fleur.
it was so good.
Yeah, that movie's awesome. Yeah. So, all right, that's the house that Jack built. The house that Jack built. Excuse me. You can find that on Tubi right now. Probably a few other places. From 2018, directed by Lars von Trier. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, be sure to let us know. Let Matt know, and we can comment on that in future episodes. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to try out a new format here where we do our watch list stuff at the end, just as a kind of to give you guys some recommendations to sign off with before we go out into the ether until whenever you hear us next. So I will just kick it off to whoever'd like to start. Anyone have anything they'd like to recommend that they watched? Anything fun? Anything cool they saw within the last week since we last recorded? Or if we don't have anything, we can just get out of here too.
I
I
didn't
only got book stuff.
Okay, we can take some book stuff, Matt. Andrew, Kat?
I didn't watch. I didn't watch anything horror related.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I
Fair.
don't think because we didn't even get to Night Country yet. So
Yeah, I still haven't
Yeah.
watched
So
the
I
latest
was going to say.
episode of
So
that.
maybe.
The latest episode.
So there's.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So
try and
as of,
get in on
as
that
of this
tomorrow.
recording, there's I haven't seen episode 5 yet, but there are 6 episodes, and the 6th episode is set to air, between now and our next episode. So maybe we can just do a recap of the entire season whenever we record next, and I'll watch it and see what we
I
think
think-
about it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Okay, cool. So you guys didn't have anything, right?
no.
That's fine. All right, Matt, what book did you read? I know we talked about this a little bit, I think, on Super Bowl Sunday, but what was it?
So I finished the audiobook for The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. Pretty brutal. Not really something I'd go back to. It was about it takes place in the 50s. This guy's recounting growing up in a neighborhood with these kids, and they basically it's these 2 foster girls live at his neighbor's house with this lady and her 3 sons, and these mean games kind of rapidly turn into full-blown torture and other things. It's rough. It's based on a true story. It was a hard one, but I
feel like I
finished
can hear how hard it was in your voice describing it. You sound so like, oh yeah, like.
You sound ruined.
Oh, dude, it was more sad than anything, because it's like that stuff happens to people. It's just like, I don't know, but I finished that. I'm reading a book called Monstrilio. I fucking knew I should have grabbed the book before we started, because I knew I'd forget the author's name. But it's a Mexican story. It just came out last year. And basically it starts off with this family losing their 11-year-old son. Gerardo Samano Cordova is the author. Their 11-year-old son dies, who was born with 1 lung. He lives way longer than they expected him to. And basically right off the bat, it just starts with him dying. And the mother, in a desperate act of kind of shock and awe, cuts his single lung out and keeps it. And so from what I understand, as far as I've gotten, she's starting to feed the lung. Like she gives it like some like nutrient enriched chicken broth. And it's based on like some Mexican folklore where if you like dig out the organ of a dead person and you feed it, it can birth a new person. So that's where that's going to go. And then I'm doing another audiobook, which is called Tender as the Flesh, which takes place a little in the future, where some virus breaks out that makes everyone allergic to meat. And all the genetically modified stuff that's in our meat, and the only thing that people can eat now is human flesh, and that they have started breeding facilities to basically create humans, such as they do with cattle and pigs. And it's it's pretty fucked up.
That's a good way to make people become vegans.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I'm telling you, ever since I started, I'm so happy, Mike, that you recommended me to read The Troop, because it opened this whole door of these horror books.
Happy to help, my friend. I told
Well,
you.
dude, they're so fucking brutal. Like they're like, it's just like horror novels are out of control. Like I've always read Stephen King, and those are pretty harsh. But these are like, some of these new writers are like fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So,
You'd
It's interesting.
you'd like some Paul Tremblay stuff.
Yeah.
And amongst
check that
others,
out.
I can give you more recommendations, but
Once I finish an audiobook, I try to find one that's like not too expensive. Usually just as long as it's not brand new. You can get one for like $13.
yeah.
And but I crush them like in a week worth of driving to work. So
That second one you mentioned, Monstro, sounds like a Pet Cemetery almost kind of thing.
yeah, it's supposed to be kind of like that, like a Frankensteinian sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that one I'm actually reading. So that'll take me a little. It's a little bit bigger than the one I let you borrow. And it's like
Deal.
it's not that it doesn't. But that other one was short. It had a big font. Like this one's like a book. So this one will take me a little bit longer to read.
All right. Excellent. Well, gotta love Matt coming in with a couple of book recommendations at the end. I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for taking us home there. Anything else you got?
No, I didn't. Super Bowl took over. I had a lot of gigs this weekend, so I've been busy.
Same.
But I'm gonna try to watch some stuff this week. I do want to get back into watching some movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can always talk more about stuff next week. But this one ran a little long anyway, which is fine because I feel like it's some good talk on this movie
Yeah,
tonight.
good
So,
conversation.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good
So
pick, Matt. Good
yeah, Matt, nice selection. And guys, thank you for all of your contributions as always.
Hell yeah, I'm glad you guys ended up liking the movie again. But I am excited to be able to pick some more brutal movies and know that you guys will handle them. So
Oh yeah,
that's nice.
I'm a big boy.
We'll take them in stride for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, anyway.
Just keep in mind, I'm not good with subtitles and length. Just
Well, you're gonna have to
I
get
do
used
want to do.
that.
I do
I
want
don't
to
know
do
why
climax.
subtitles are so hard for you. Put your phone down.
it's
Yeah.
I
hard.
do want to do
like,
climax.
But that's why it was nice that Matt picked this movie because it forced me to sit down and actually watch the movie. Like I couldn't, like there were pieces that I couldn't miss things, and like I was trying to do some work while I watched it because I had to work today too. So today was a mess. So, but subtitles I wouldn't have been able to watch it at all. So
It's too much. Yeah, it's long. I do promise the ones that I have kind of like on the bench right now that do have subtitles, they're not like boring movies. You'll be into it. So
I think what Kat's trying to say is she doesn't like reading.
I don't like reading.
So
I don't like.
she's like, if
captions.
there's
I
more
don't
than like 12 sentences in the entire movie,
Well,
I'm good.
she can't handle
But
it.
captions on the TV in general, when I'm watching TV, I don't mind, but I can also hear what they're saying. But if they're speaking another language,
just don't
want
wanna
to
have to pay
read the
attention.
screen.
Is that what it is?
That's harder.
You don't read it. You already know. You know.
But
it's
when
second
you
nature
have
now.
captions on, it's just like you're half watching them. You're not actually like reading them while this is going on. But
Well, when it's a movie that I need to read them, I am.
well, yes,
you'd be
Yeah,
surprised though. You get kind of used to it though.
Yeah, you'd be
It's
fine.
really, you're really not missing much of what's happening as much as a lot of the times foreign movies. The dialogue is very story. That's what kind of drives the story.
yeah. I still need to watch Toombad because I want to.
That was a good one.
That was so
Yeah.
weird that was like our fourth like highest like
And
listened
I
to
still
episode.
haven't.
I was like, is
even
that because we
watched
have
that
we do? I think we
movie.
have a bunch of listeners out that way.
I think so too. Yeah, I think we
And
do.
by out that way, I mean India, the
Correct.
continent.
Yeah. No, we've seen some of that in the statistics.
Yeah.
So if you are listening out in India right now, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it, and hope you enjoyed our Toombad episode. That movie actually fucking rocked.
That movie was
You would
good, yeah.
you'd like.
I
it.
need to watch it. I just
Yeah,
haven't had
yeah,
time.
for sure. All right, cool. You guys got anything else? We good to go?
I think we're ready to
That's
rock
all.
and roll. Put a bow on this bitch, Michael.
Let's put a bow in this bitch. All right, this has been another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. I've been joined by Kat, Andrew, and Matt. Guys, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Good evening. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye guys.
Night.
Thank you.
Adios.
Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and I want to say thanks again for listening to another episode of our show. If you're interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I'd highly recommend you check out the shows from our friends over on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find shows from Inebriart, the Old Colony Cast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, and Retro Redoctopus, so head on over and give them a listen.